Hey class, this is Mr. Walker, and there's a brief kind of introduction to Unit 3 and to the first lesson of Unit 3, Lesson 7. Before I get to the lesson, I'm going to scroll down here, and the bottom of the main page, you'll see a new purple folder that says APUSH Exam Resources. And on top of this folder, you see the date of the AP exam. It's been pushed back to May 15th, the time the test begins, and the new format for the AP exam. And if you open it, there are some helpful resources. Here's a PowerPoint that walks through all the changes in the rubric. Here's a link to a video about the changes. These are two examples of the new rubric for the AP exam. It's a modified DBQ, so this is how they're going to be scoring it. It's now at 10 points. And then these are two videos to the College Board, or two links to the College Board with helpful information about testing changes and stuff to use as you prepare for the APUSH exam. We'll be using this folder more starting week 4 and going forward to the AP exam. But I just kind of want to show it to you now so you know that it exists. All right, scroll to the top. And we're now in Unit 3 about the 1950s. And the 1950s is often called the Eisenhower era or the age of Eisenhower because for 8 years of this decade, Eisenhower Ike is going to be the president of the United States. And so he's kind of come to be a big sort of identifier for this time period. And the 1950s is actually pretty dramatic stuff. Under Eisenhower's watch and a little bit under Truman's watch, we see the economy start to boom, and we see the development of an affluent society. We see this growing conformity that develops throughout society because of television, and we see a changing culture that is becoming more homogenous. However, despite this more homogenous or more like identical or clone culture that exists in the 1950s, there are lots of people that don't experience all this affluence and wealth, and many people that also reject this affluence, like the beatniks and kind of the rebel youth of the era. And it's also the time period when the civil rights movement begins to really pick up steam. We see the emergence of people like Dr. King and other civil rights leaders, as well as female feminists like Betty Friedan, that are going to start speaking out against wrongs that are being done against women, African Americans, and other minority groups. So we see that movement arrive finally in the United States. It's often called the Second Reconstruction, the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s. And then the Cold War. During this time period, the Cold War heats up even more, and we start to see more use of atomic weapons. We see the development from atom bombs to hydrogen bombs, which are exponentially more dangerous. Both the United States and the Soviet Union have access to these hydrogen bombs, and we see new foreign policies such as massive retaliation, rollback, mutually assured destruction begin to take shape that kind of determine our foreign policy going forward in the Cold War with the Soviet Union. It's also the time of the Red Scare, which began in the 1940s, but really picks up in the early 1950s. And so people at home are really feeling the effects of the Cold War. We have duck and cover drills, people building fallout shelters, and you also have McCarthy and other leaders in the country that are accusing people of being communists and blacklisting them and ruining lives. And so we have a lot of hysteria going on because of the Cold War and this atomic age. To learn more about all this stuff in greater detail, you're going to be reading chapter 37 of the textbook. So we're going to open up the first lesson, lesson 7, which takes place on Monday the 13th and Tuesday the 14th. And we have our video direction link here. Here's a link to the directions as well. But lesson 7 is very similar to lesson 4 from week 2. You're going to read a chapter of the textbook. You can access the textbook in the PDF right here. And then you're also encouraged to watch a video about the chapter as well. We have a bunch of video options here you can pick from. And while you're reading and while you're watching, you should be filling in a reading guide. You'll click on this link, you'll make a copy of it and make it public so that I can see it. And you'll answer the questions on this reading guide as you're learning about the 1950s and the age of Eisenhower. After you completed that, you'll take a 10-question reading quiz right here. Boom. You're encouraged to use your notes from that reading guide on it. And then after that quiz, you should submit your reading guide. A lot of you printed off the reading guide instead of like typing on it, and you wrote your answers on it, and then you submitted a picture. That worked great. So if you didn't consider doing that last week and you don't want to have to tag or go back and forth between your tabs, that might be something you want to consider this week, is printing off the reading guide if you can, and then writing your answers on it and then submitting a picture of it. That worked really well. So that is Lesson 7, read the text, watch a video about it as well, answer the quiz, and submit your reading guide that you've completed. One more thing, we have attendance for Monday and Tuesday, and there's attendance for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Going forward during this distance learning period, it is no longer required by our district that we have like a daily assignment or attendance thing from you. So you only need to do one of these attendance quizzes a week. So like I know there's 5 that are listed and they're each worth 1 point. But you only have to do them one time each week. So like on Monday, if you want to get your attendance quiz done, you can answer the question on Monday. Boom, you get your 1 point, 1 out of 1. And if you skip the quiz for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then that's okay. I'm just going to mark you exempt on those because you already did attendance this week. So you don't gain any points. It goes in the gradebook as 0 out of 0 for you then. If you'd like to accumulate, more formative points and make that total point category bigger, or if you would like to just continue the back and forth dialogue that these questions are, then you're encouraged to answer the attendance question every day, because you'll still get a point for them. Like if you choose to answer the attendance Monday through Friday, you'll get 5 points added to your total points category, so it kind of saturates that grading category, which can be a good thing. Or if you decide you don't want to do attendance every day and you just do it once or twice, that's fine. You'll get credit for the days you do it, and the days you don't, you'll be marked exempt. Do note that if you don't do attendance at all, you will get a 1 point deduction. You'll get a 0 out of 1 for attendance that week. It's kind of a weird change. I'll try and send out a message so that's clear to everybody eventually, but that is kind of the new plan going forward for attendance. You only have to do it once a week. Otherwise, you'll be marked exempt for the days you don't do if you do it once a week. If you want to do it every day, that's great, and you'll get a point for each day that you do it. So you'll get more points in the total points category. Hope that made sense. If you have any questions, please email me. Have a wonderful week.